Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's going on, Cavs fans? Welcome back to another edition of the Block That Shot the Stop. I'm Skylar Webker. He's Kevin Lynch. We're coming after the Cavs drop their game against the Heat, kind of ending their 4-game winning streak. And Kevin, I think we chatted before this and we've been texting through the week. Yeah, 4-game winning streak, but not anything inspiring. Not inspiring basketball in those 4 games.
No, and I'm coming in. I'm actually coming in kind of inspired in this episode by our friend Thomas Bryant, who I get continual humor out of. That he has never made a mistake on a basketball court, according to him. And at least this season, I haven't watched him as closely previously. I'm pretty sure he in his mind, he's never committed a foul. He's never missed a shot where he didn't get fouled. And I'm using that as kind of an inspiration to give myself the freedom to know that I'm never going to make a mistake on this podcast. And so I'm just going to be able to let the takes fly.
It's all about mentality, man. If you think you're right, you're right.
That's exactly it. So
let's rewind to yesterday's game, where the Cavs beat the Magic 136-131. I mean, they had a great offensive showing, but I think the Cavs, maybe the locker room and the players are a little higher on that victory than they should have been, because how often are you going to shoot 60% from the floor, 40% from three, 90% from the line? Like those numbers do not happen for at least for the Cavs. They do not happen. And kind of Kenny's comments after the game were pointing out, hey, you're not going to make a good playoff run if you don't play any defense. But as you alluded to in our text conversations, like, look in the mirror, pal.
Yeah. So what our text conversation, to let you into the group chat, was Skylar sent us that, and I said, okay, but Jared Allen and Jalen Tyson were not available last night, which certainly works against the Cavs when it comes to playing their best defensive game. But of the guys that were available, Dean Wade and Keon Ellis both only played 20 minutes. And on the flip side of that, some of the Cavs' worst defenders, James Harden, honestly, being truthful, Donovan Mitchell has not been playing that good a defense. Max Strus has been playing terrible defense. Those guys, 37 minutes, 35 minutes, 27 minutes. So, like, if you're going to complain about the defense, and you really want to focus on the defense, put your team in an optimal position and play guys who play the best defense more.
It wasn't even just like minutes distribution. It was like defensive assignments. There were large stretches of that game where James Harden is guarding Paolo, which that team goes as Paolo goes. Why are we having our worst defender on their best player?
Especially with the Magic had 2 of their best players out. They've been missing Franz Wagner for a good portion of the season, and then Jalen Suggs was like a late scratch last night. I forget why, but teams down 2 of their 4 best players, like, you should give you an opportunity to kind of load up the defense against who is remaining. And Paolo and Desmond Bane are by far the 2 best offensive players in that team in the game last night. And while they did a decent job on Bane, Paolo went off. He's 36 points on like 53% shooting, like got to the line 15 times, and honestly probably deserved most of those trips to the line. He was being super aggressive and the Cavs couldn't guard him, and so he either scored or they had to foul him. And I think some of that was defensive matchups. I don't know why Kenny didn't lean more into going to a 2 big lineup, because Thomas Bryant's been playing really well. And if you look at like kind of the lineups with the 2 bigs, and with Allen being out, that's like Thomas Bryant and Evan Mobley play together about 8 to 10 minutes a game, and the numbers are like off the charts. They're like plus 11 net rating. And I don't know why he didn't lean into that a little bit more, because if he does that, then you could put Mobley on Banchero, and Mobley's the only big, and Orlando usually plays two bigs at a time, most often Wendell Carter with Paolo, that you're playing this small lineup against a too big lineup. You're stuck in defensive mismatches, and in this case, stuck in a defensive mismatch against the other team's best player.
Yeah, it's not great defensively, even if you didn't watch the game at all, and you look at the box score and you go, why did the Cavs win when most of their starters are negative on the plus minus? I mean, the assignments were terrible. The really only good defensive contributor was Thomas Bryant, really holding his own out there. Outside of that, it was kind of slim pickings to find like anything working outside of the offense. The offense was great. James Harden got to the line plenty, distributing plenty, scoring. Donovan Mitchell coming in into that fourth quarter and kind of hopefully getting out of his shooting slump. But outside of the offense, that's great. It won you the game, but you would not have won a series against Orlando.
No, not even Orlando, but the teams that they're going to have to play in the playoffs, especially if they advance past the first round, are just much better. And when the Cavs continually give up, they lose the free throw battle, and they're losing the battle of the 3-point line. And if you lose those two things, you're in a real uphill battle for winning. Now they did squeak out the game last night and a few games before that, frankly, against more cellar dweller teams in the NBA, like and you can get by, but you continually don't play great defense, lose the battle of the the free throw line and the 3-point line. Your chances of winning against good teams is very, very slim. You almost have to pitch a perfect game everywhere else. And they've just turned into consistent problems for the Cavs. Free throw shooting, both attempts and efficiency from the line. The Cavs have been really bad, especially at the ladder. And guarding the 3-point line, it's now like it's gone past like coincidence or even a problem into a serious problem. They've turned into like one of the worst teams in the league at preventing 3-point shots, 3-point makes, high 3-point percentage. And I don't have great ideas of how it gets corrected, to be honest.
I also don't have great ideas. I mean, you have a couple of guys out there. Your hope is you get Jalen Tyson back. That helps on your perimeter defense, but Jared Allen's not going to help your perimeter defense. Yeah. Outside of that, you have all the guys on the roster. So you need more out of the guys that you have, or you need to figure out a better minutes rotation or something so that you can keep the guys that are key on that defensive end, like Keon Ellis, Dean Wade, and without, the sacrifice of veteran, or with the sacrifice of veteran minutes, honestly, because we know how Kenny is. He leans towards veteran minutes and anything like that over probably statistics telling you not.
Yeah, I mean, and there are a lot of contributing factors, but I'm gonna be honest, in these two games, like if James Harden's going to average 40 minutes a game and you don't have the optimal team around him to make up for him, which I don't think the Cavs do right now. This team was not built for James Harden. They added James Harden after it was already built. Like you're not going to be a great defensive team. Like he needs to play less, or you need to put the most optimal lineups around him, or both, to make up for his deficiencies on the defensive end, which, and to his credit, offensively, he's gotten going a lot more, not as much tonight, but the previous few games to that, he has looked much better on offense. But I mean, the game tonight, and we'll get to it here, but the Miami game, they just absolute like low effort on defense, coming off a back-to-back, being shorthanded. There's some reasons, but like you can't, you're just not going to win with this kind of defensive effort and lack of efficiency on the defensive end.
Yeah, I think the most optimal lineup for James Harden, I mean, obviously it has Jared Allen in it, and that's not a option right now.
Yeah.
But I think once you get Jared Allen back, then you have your two bigs. You have options, and we've seen what what James Harden can do with bigs in his lineup. So you hope that works out. But as I say for my every sports team, but especially my baseball team, hope is not a strategy. You can't hope that things are going to work.
The problem is the Cavs don't have optimal players to put around James Harden, with the exception of Jared Allen. Jared Allen is an ideal center for him to play with, but through the course of his career, teams have always tried to optimize Harden by putting long 3-and-D guys around Harden, guys who can space the floor on offense, give him room to create and hit an open shot if he dishes out to them, and then guys who can make up for him on the defensive end. The Cavs, this is their problem last year. It's continuing to be a problem this year. They have too many guys that are either like one-way players or aren't above average on both sides of the ball, aren't that 3-and-D guy. Dean Wade is the prototype of a 3-and-D guy, just never gets his jump shot consistently enough to really be that in the truest sense. So there are things they can do, but like, and maybe I'll tee you up for what you want to talk about here. The post-game comments, if it rings empty if you say like, if we're going to play defense like this, we're not going to win the playoffs. I'm only going to play guys that play defense. And then tonight's Kenny it was very much lip service from what the coaching decisions he made tonight.
Yeah, we turning ahead to tonight's game against the Heat. James Harden played 43 minutes.
Yeah.
And in a game, after making comments about you're not going to play if you don't play defense, very much empty words. And granted, I know you have to play James Harden. He is the point guard. That point is understood. But if you're saying one thing and then doing another, and to James Harden's credit, I have seen a lot more movement and effort in the past couple of days, but not so much just standing around and ball watching, but it's still not contributing to stops or anything like that, especially on the 3-point line. That's you got to do something. You can't say it and then not do it, because then you guys are not going to get better or change.
Yeah, I would say I think maybe in a couple games you're right. I thought Harden did a lot of standing around on both offense and defense tonight. He took 1 2-point shot the entire game. He was 4 for 10 from the field, 3 of 9 from 3. Did get to the line 7 times. One of those was being fouled on a 3-pointer, which was kind of a flail. But why you would push him to 43 minutes, I understand they're shorthanded, but there was ways to not play Harden 43 minutes tonight when his energy level is that low on a back-to-back. Last year was a dream with Kenny. We loved him and everything. I feel like at times I especially, and you at times as well, have been critical of some of the decisions Kenny has made this year. And I'm getting more and more discouraged with some of his decision making. It just seems more and more that he can be a system coach and put in an amazing system, but the minute that system cracks, and frankly, they're not in that system anymore. They're in the Harden system. They stand around, they space the floor, and let him create. If not him, Donovan Mitchell, and he's not as much of a in-game adjustments coach, make decisions on the fly, those kind of things that somebody like tonight, you saw Eric Spoelstra do over and over again. Like when the Cavs got back in the game, he went to like a completely different lineup to shake things up. He did like 3 different types of zone that I saw in that game, including like a box and one when it was only Harden and no Mitchell in the game. And thought, just it discouraged me, because this team, you build a team with so much depth and flexibility, but if you're not willing to utilize that flexibility, what's the point of having it?
Yeah, it's something we've touched on in a lot of episodes, but I still can't put my finger on why. Last year, we talked about all the time last year how this team would figure out a way to beat you. They would make in-game adjustments. That methodology
But
has
did they though?
completely
I'm
abandoned this
asking.
team this year.
But did they though? Because I feel like things went so well most of the time that maybe it even seemed like he did. But like last year was a fairy tale, the regular season, right? Like I thought the system and players' health and so many things went in the Cavs' favor last year that they weren't faced with nearly the adversity that they were this year. So like I kind of thought that too with you. Like, what's the differences from last year to this year? And I don't know if Kenny's any different. It's just the team and the circumstances difference, to me at least.
I mean, I remember, and maybe I'm remembering with rose-colored glasses.
Sure.
But I remember a couple of games last year where 3-point shot wasn't falling. They pivoted. They went and started driving to the basket, driving to the hole. They would throw zone out there. They would change up things to get the offense or the other team not knowing what to do, but creating confusion on the floor and not being so dependent on a one-dimensional offense. But that part has completely lacked. I mean, we've seen Kenny not adjust rotations, not adjust minutes, not adjust any kind of scheming or game planning. Like, if he decides that a team is terrible on 3-point defense, that is what that is it. That is the only thing that the Cavs are going to focus on in that game, whether it's working or not.
Well, the one adjustment they did, which I think is very much for the worse, and I don't know this is a Kenny adjustment, it's just a acquiring James Harden adjustment. Since the trade deadline, the Cavs were 7th in pace, the 7th fastest team in the NBA. Since the trade deadline, they are 27th, 4th from last in the NBA. They play significantly slower, and sometimes it works just fine because Harden and Mitchell both can just be deadly in the half court and dissected defense. But like this team is built to run, a decent amount. They have like a lot of athleticism, and then they have like, guys who are really good at spacing out on the break, particularly like Merrill and Tyson and Mitchell, to like get early offense 3-pointers before the defense is really set. And they don't do that anymore. I mean, tonight alone, fast break points 17-4 in favor of Miami. And so that is one adjustment that has been made, but I think it's been made by James Harden and not by Kenny Atkinson, that I think is really, really doing the Cavs a disservice. And again, I don't see it changing. Harden's been one of the slowest players in the league for a decade. And I don't think you're going to get him to speed up, and I don't think they're going to move him to the bench. So I don't know. I'm worried that could be one of the downfalls of this team.
I also think that's something that separates good coaches from Hall of Famers, is having your way of playing, not letting a player dictate how you're going to, not building something around a player. I mean, you see that with Heat culture in Miami. Like, that's Eric Spoelstra. Like, he builds a scheme and a game plan for his team, not around a player. You saw that a lot with Pop. Like, you see that with Steve Kerr. Like, it doesn't matter who's on the team. The system is with the coach or whatever. And so I agree with you that I think he's, I don't want to say pandering, probably catering is the right word.
Yeah, I agree.
Catering a lot to how James Harden plays versus how this team plays.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think the reason some of the guys you mentioned, it's because they got buy-in from their system from their best player. Like Steph Curry fully buys into Steve Kerr's. Like back in the day, Tim Duncan fully bought into Greg Popovich. Several guys with Spoelstra, either they had a superstar that bought in, or they had they frankly didn't have superstars for a lot of the years in Spoelstra's Miami tenure. So I agree. I agree with you, and maybe that is on the coaching and managing the relationships with star players. But I also think, in fairness to Kenny, because we have criticized him some, that is a hard thing to build on the fly with a guy who is so established as James Harden is. And mid-season, I think there's a lot higher probability of the team changing to Harden than Harden changing to the team.
For sure. I mean, it's not a 2K roster. Like I definitely understand that
Yeah.
aspect of it. But I don't know. Like you said, a lot of this team is built to run. This is a criticism that we had when they made the trade
Mhm.
was Harden is one of the slowest pace players in the league. He likes to take his time and everything like that. I don't know how that's going to work when you have all these young guys who are ready and able to get up the court. And we know Donovan Mitchell likes to play with pace. We know Evan Mobley plays better with pace. About the
Yep.
only person that doesn't play better with pace is Jared Allen, and that's why Jared Allen succeeds with James Harden.
Even Jared, he's a solid rim runner on the breaks and everything. I wouldn't even say he is necessarily a player that would slow you down. Is he, as athletic as a Mobley or some of the other guys on the team? No, but like I wouldn't even say he slows you down. And that leads me into like the other frustrating thing I want to talk about from these last two games for me is Evan Mobley has been on one of the better stretches of his career. I pulled up these stats courtesy of Pivot Fade. Last 12 games before tonight, averaging 21 points on 63% shooting, over 10 rebounds a game. I think his defense has leveled up from earlier in the year. I think this is as good as we've seen Evan Mobley play this season at least, and maybe one of the best stretches of his whole career. These last two games, Orlando, he got 8 shots. He made every single one of them. That wasn't a free throw, but he was 8 for 8 from the field, only got 8 shots. Tonight, only 7 shots. Like, I don't know what is going on. I mean, there's some things. He's a different player than Jared Allen, but Jared Allen became so featured in a James Harden-led offense. But then Evan Mobley, well, he's putting up these great numbers, still not getting high attempts. I don't understand why Mobley, we have learned through the course of the season, Mobley is similar to Jared Allen in the sense that he could be a very effective offensive player, but you have to set him up, right? They tried to like put him in positions more to go one-on-one, from the wing, stuff like that. It didn't work as well. He needs to get the ball in certain spots. He needs to be involved in the pick and roll. He needs to be the finisher in the dunker spot and things like that. Him to only get 7 or 8 field goal attempts a game, especially when the Cavs are as shorthanded as they are, and especially in games where Jared Allen doesn't play, is unacceptable to me. It's unacceptable from Evan Mobley. It's unacceptable from the guards who should be setting him up. It's unacceptable from Kenny Atkinson. Like when you have a guy as skilled as Evan playing one of the best stretches of his career, and you don't figure out a way to feature him in the offense these last couple of games, that is an organizational failure.
I agree. I think the organization and coaching staff and method is failing him. They ask him to do a lot of things that he's not built to do.
Yeah.
And then kind of, I don't want to say hide him, but he becomes non-existent because of he's a guy that repetition. Like he can't find a rhythm when he can't get the ball.
To Evan's, I was gonna say, to Evan's credit, Evan has adjusted his game to kind of maximize his capabilities. He has not shot the ball nearly as well from 3 this year, and he's dropped his attempts and said, okay, I will focus on getting to the basket. I will focus on being the finisher and everything. So good on Evan for adjusting his game to like what is working the best right now. But like, shame on, like I said, the whole organization for not maximizing it. He looks even more athletic to me. Like the way he's finishing and some of these like these dunks through traffic and how highly efficient he's been around the rim. Like he needs to be a first thought on the offensive end, where too often he's the third or fourth thought.
Yeah, I agree. And I think just like Jared Allen, like he thrives when he's part of the
100%.
plan.
100%.
And he's not. I mean, the fact that, and I don't want to, point out anything, but Keon Ellis, 12 shots. Sam Merrill, 13 shots. Donovan Mitchell, 22 shots. James Harden, 10 shots. Yeah. You guys could none of you are going to be as effective as Evan Mobley at Evan Mobley, like involvement. Like Evan
Yeah.
Mobley probably has the highest ceiling of all of these guys.
Oh, 100% he does. He only had 14 points off the bench tonight. The bench was super thin. I mean, Tyrese Proctor got his first minutes in I don't know how long. That's how thin they were. This is a night where you feature Evan. You're super shorthanded. You're on the back end of a back-to-back where, tired legs. Why not feature your 24-year-old uber athletic 7-footer who has been on a heater lately? Like, I don't understand why coming into the game it wasn't like we're going to do a bunch of stuff to set it. We're going to try and ride Evan tonight. Even to start the game, he only got 3 shot attempts in the entire first half. That was so at halftime. I was so frustrated like that he was completely uninvolved. And to your point, like I didn't think he was bad tonight defensively, but I don't think he wreaked as much havoc as he has been defensively. He only had 5 boards tonight. Like big guy, it's human nature. We talk about this with Jared Allen a lot. The more involved you are on the offensive end, the more involved you end up getting on the boards, on the defensive end, in the transition game. It just ups your, focus level. That was to me, the biggest reason for the loss tonight is Evan Mobley only getting 7-8 shot attempts and being such an afterthought on a night where he frankly should have been the featured guy.
What's confusing to me is we don't see the Evan Mobley, James Harden pick and roll action nearly as much as they were running with Jared Allen. I mean, it's felt like almost every possession that was coming. The other team knew it. Everybody in the stadium knew it and still couldn't stop it. But we're not even seeing the attempts of that pick and roll kind of dynamic that we were seeing with Jared Allen in Evan Mobley and James Harden.
Yeah. I don't know like why that is. I mean, I do think Jared is a much more natural pick and roll partner. I think that's a part of Evan's game he hasn't quite as developed yet. Ironically, and I haven't looked this up in a few weeks, but like through the first, say, 50 to 60 games of the season, Evan Mobley was the most efficient person in the pick and roll when he was the one initiating the pick and roll. Like when he actually had the ball in his hands and they were doing like a flipped pick and roll where like Mitchell would come screen for him or stuff like that. That was like maybe the Cavs' most effective offense through the first part of the year. Well, that's gone. Like there's a lot of things when you have James Harden, things that were super effective that get frustrated. I know Jalen Tyson hasn't played in a couple games, but that pick and slip is not a pick and roll, pick and slip that he did with Mitchell, where he'd come out and almost like fake a ghost screen and then dive to like the free throw line and Mitchell would hit him with a pass. And then he developed a really nice floater from there. He was pretty good decision maker at like kicking out to the corners and everything. I haven't seen either of those kind of things in the offensive game plan at all. And again, kind of goes back to the point I made earlier. Why build this team with so much flexibility, both in rotations, that in strategy you can deploy and everything, and then you don't deploy any of it. You just play 5 out and let Harden try and break down defense or Mitchell try and break down defense. And Serena Winters was even highlighting in an interview with Sam Merrill a couple games ago is that the Cavs had to change their offense to eliminate a lot of the cutting that they would do and instead stay disciplined in their space to give James the maximum amount of space to try and create. And I just don't think the Cavs are built for that. And not only that, it's also not basketball I enjoy watching nearly as much. And that's probably why I'm a little agitated.
For sure. Hopefully getting some good news on Jared Allen. It sounds like Friday is his target date of return. So hopefully we see him in this second game against the Heat. All of these games against Florida teams in Cleveland, by the way. I thought that was a weird scheduling quirk, but hopefully you get Jared Allen back. Hopefully he's able to slot in there seamlessly.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I'm glad that if there's one good thing or benefit, I'm glad that they're getting to do this against not good or trying teams versus having a dogfight here at the end, which you're seeing with a lot of the teams in 5 through 10 right now in the standings.
Yeah, no, it's true. And we can only hope that, everybody, it's famous in NBA circles, the Miami flu, when you end up having to spend a night in Miami. We can only hope the Heat get some, whatever the Cleveland version of that, like Cleveland strep throat or something, before Friday nights, and make it a little bit easier on the Cavs.
Yeah. So their next game is against Utah. I mean, Utah is literally getting investigated for tanking. So
Yeah.
you hope you can pull that one out.
Right.
And then against the Lakers, they head out west for 2 games against the Lakers and the Warriors. The Warriors kind of dealing with their own injuries. The Lakers kind of dealing with their own dismay as well. So if you're the Cavs, you're hoping you can get your stuff figured out sooner than the other teams.
Yep. That is certainly the hope. It's just frustrating. I mean, we're what, 10 games left in the regular season. You would hope they would be on the kind of momentum that they were right before and right after the trade deadline, that January, February timeframe. You had a lot of good feelings about the team. It just, ultimately, it might not matter in however this Cavs season turns out, but you hate the idea of feeling like you're like pulling into the playoffs with a flat tire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for I would say a playoff run that probably the most important, maybe second most important in the Cavs kind of franchise history. You really need to go the distance.
Okay, I thought you were going to say the most important one since LeBron left or something. Second in franchise history, that might be a stretch, but I definitely think it's the most important one in, say, like 8 years or so, because I do think this playoffs is going to determine the course that this team takes. I mean, not that they'd necessarily tear it down, but I think they would do big time shakeups this summer if they can't get past the second round in this playoff.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're pushing all your chips and keeping Donovan Mitchell, you got to do something to make him stay. You pushed all your chips in this. You pushed all your chips into this working out. You got James Harden for Donovan Mitchell. You need this to pay off, or else, the house is getting foreclosed on.
Yeah, and like I said, they got 10 games left to try and get healthy and try and get this thing moving like it was about a month ago. And hopefully they do. It's just it's definitely been an discouraging month of March, I would say.
Yeah. So what is it? 10 games left?
Yeah.
10 games. So figure it out. You gotta figure it out in 10 games. That's what we'll leave it on. So as we do on every Wednesday show, we like to do Dad's Talking Cavs. This is our free parenting advice, our dad's wins, our dad's losses. Take it from us. Kevin, what you got?
This is a combo parenting marriage situation story that my daughter checked. We're going back to the well with the library with my daughter. So my daughter checked out a book in December. And we checked out 6 books. 5 of them we found, we returned. We could not find it. I asked the library to make sure, double check that we actually checked it out, looked everywhere, turned the house upside down. Eventually, I conceded when we were going to go into default and get the library card suspended. And I just bought a new book off of Amazon. Cost me $17 to replace Pinkalicious Kittens. And just a couple of days ago, I was doing a little bit of spring cleaning in the garage, getting ready to do some landscaping work. And I found this big, the black bag, the bag that you use to go grocery shopping. So you don't have to use the grocery, plastic bags. And what is this? And I look, and it is just this bag of junk that I asked my wife about, what is it? She's like, oh, I had to clean out the car real quick because we were having, people were getting in the car and her car's always a mess.
Yep.
So I started pulling it out, sure enough, Pinkalicious Kittens was right there in the bag that my wife just panic cleaned out the car. And I brought her, before I even realized it, I brought her and my daughter into our room. I'm like, this is going to be an important lesson about why you should keep your spaces clean. And pulled it out and said, someone here owes me $17. You two figure it out. And walked out of the room. Neither of them talked to me for the rest of the day. But to me, it was worth it to drive a point home that you never have to clean up if you just keep your space clean. So that's a lesson that we learned or were reminded of in our house this week.
Oh, love that lesson, by the way. Our family vehicle also basically a trash can on wheels.
Right.
For me, so obviously big baseball fan. Baseball is coming around. Opening day is tomorrow. We're not going to opening day, but we're going to go on Saturday and kind of getting my son all excited. And he just keeps asking about it. So we're using it as kind of a leverage thing of, well, you can go if ABC, XYZ. And he's been catching on and like, okay, like learning that like good behavior, acting right in stores, whatever it is that we ask him, like that incentive piece is kind of hanging over there, and it's working really well right now. I don't know until maybe he catches on to the bluff, but like, yes, you were always going to go. We weren't just going to leave you at home, but putting that little bluff in there to make sure you behave and incentivize it a little more.
The carrot on the string is an effective, very short-term strategy. It is a strategy that will not last and that they will catch on to. But while it's working, ride it as long as you can.
That's what I'm trying to do. I got to make it work 2 more days, and
There
then
you go.
we'll have to find another carrot to put out there. But that'll do it for us. We'll be back on Sunday to recap both just the Miami game. That's all we got between now and Sunday. So
Yep.
Please follow us on all the social medias. We love fan interaction. We actually do read the interaction and interact with you guys. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as we continue to grow our content over here, and always subscribe to the audio version of this podcast. It helps tremendously. We're on all of the platforms, likes, ratings, reviews, everything like that. We're just Cavs fans trying to put on a good show for other Cavs fans. So any criticisms, comments, concerns, everything helps. So for that, I'm Skylar Webker. He's Kevin Lynch. We'll get out of here. And as always,
Go Cavs.